are the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Post the regional event that happened this weekend. Big dogs, a new ban list has finally arrived, and floodgates, for the most part, they're out of here. So in today's video, with a little bit of research, we are going to be going over what I think are the best decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Let's go ahead and jump on in. What's going on with ya, big dogs? And it is an amazing day for Yu-Gi-Oh! I hope that your day phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. And speaking of the rest of your day, I have a very, very special announcement. Playoffs. My girls' flag football team, we officially ended the season at 9-3. That is a crazy record considering that they only won one game last year. And today is our very first playoff game. A lot of you guys came here because you're invested into the football team. I want you guys to wish those beautiful little girls luck as we go out there and we have fun. As far as I'm concerned, the season is a huge success. Of course, we're trying to win that trophy, but more importantly, we're trying to make sure that these girls know that someone's always standing by their side and pushing them to go to the next height. And it's kind of crazy I mention this is because this Yu-Gi-Oh format, even though we have a lot of information, isn't 1000% solved. In today's video, Big Dog, not only will I be using data from the regional events, I'll also be giving you guys my personal experience through testing in this format, ranking these strategies on how powerful they are. Now, of course, if you guys think that I missed a particular Yu-Gi-Oh strategy, or if you think one of these strategies ranking are a little bit too high or too low, let me know down below in the comment section. In this particular tier list, we have 5 different categories, all the way to what we think are going to be the best decks, down to floodgates definitely helped your Yu-Gi-Oh strategy. You needed them to be good. Some of these decks are going to benefit tremendously from floodgate cards being banned, and some of them are going to suffer. And of course, the criteria is going to be not only based on how strong these decks are coming into the format, but I also will take into consideration future support that the deck may receive. Let's go ahead and start off with Odion. If I remember correctly, this deck actually won the first YCS. Not too many Yu-Gi-Oh strategies can actually say that it won a YCS, so that should be taken into consideration. But we also have to keep in mind the reason why Odion was so good is that the format was fresh and people didn't necessarily know what to play. This format isn't too much different from the last, other than losing a lot of floodgates, which means that Odion should be in takes a good pilot at best. I don't think that a YCS winning Yu-Gi-Oh deck is floodgates helped, especially considering that they might have data part. But still, being able to search the Dominus cards and even new floodgates that players are using like Simo Archfiends does stand for something. The deck is not bad and Odion is a real one, dog. He the only one that stood up for his brother. Y'all ain't stand up for your brothers like him. He be 10 toes. Next is Different Dimension Demons, my boy. You could call me Yusuke because I'm a demon from a different dimension and I spirit gun you if I have to. Bang! DDD is a combo-centric Yu-Gi-Oh deck that did rely on a lot of special summoning. Keep in mind, cards like Fossil Dynapachi Cephalo and the barrier statues were something that people could very much do. And while Dimensional Barrier Dimensional Barrier kind of cooked this deck. With all that being said, considering the inboards that DDD puts out and the amount of complications that it takes, don't shoot me, DDD players, but I also think that your deck takes a good pilot. Let's keep it an entire beam, chat. This is probably one of the only pendulum strategies I like, ever. I like this deck so much I tried to play it in Genesis, but that ain't work out. The problem with DDD is that it requires an absolute mastermind, and the boards that you get, it's more or less worse than what Mitsurugi can do with one card combos. In no way DDD is a terrible deck, but if we're talking about brain power versus reward, you're definitely not being awarded for the amount of brain power you have to use for this deck. I think DDD players can agree with that. Crystron. Crystron still has formidable threat cards like Cyber Dragon Infinity. And while the deck's biggest thing was to be able to floodgate lock your opponent, it's still a very, very strong Yu-Gi-Oh deck by itself. I just don't think that there's anything that makes it worth playing. It's really funny that these 3 decks in this tier list on Takes a Good Pilot, and all 3 of them has shown a lot of promise. With 2 of the 3 winning a YCS, I don't think that either of these decks are bad per se. But the thing here that I would say about this deck is that it requires way more effort than playing other variants of Crystron or King 9 for that matter. You guys gotta remember, K9 Rory does allow you to play regular K9. And if I'm keeping it a bean, that deck is crazy, my brother. Now, Gem Knight is going to be the first Yu-Gi-Oh strategy to get out of Takes a Good Pilot. And unfortunately, it could be in solid choice. It probably should be in solid choice, but good and stable is where it's at. I want you guys to hear me out. Gem Knight is probably one of the best going second decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! Board Breaker's at an all-time high, and with certain Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks making you look really bad for ever hand-trapping them, looking at you Yummy, Mitsurugi, and K9, this deck is a going second approach. I will cook you thoroughly, but it did lose a couple of things. One is its going first element being able to summon Arch Nemesis Protos. That means that if somebody tells you to go first, you no longer have an instant win button right now. Two is that there still are floodgates in Yu-Gi-Oh! You just can't play them. Let's move on to Exodia. You guys remember summoning an 8,000 attack monster that can negate spells and traps? Brother, it can stop prayers. It even has a floodgate with Secret Village of the Spellcasters. We're cooking. We're floodgates, definitely. Floodgates help here. If there's ever a deck that needs floodgates, it's this pathetic sack of a Yu-Gi-Oh deck. I can tell you right now, playing 5 bricks in your deck, which is both legs, both arms, and a head, without getting any is crazy. Not only that, this deck doesn't have a genuine good going first plan, not really a great going second plan. The Millennium cards are crazy when you're playing it in other decks. Exodia, even with the help of Secret Village of the Spellcasters, may be strong enough to beat a deck that's spell heavy, but against the other competition, you're probably getting cooked. I think that Sky Strikers is also in a similar spot as Gem Knight. It's a good and stable Yu-Gi-Oh deck. A strategy that is powerful enough to go second and break boards with ease, but also this deck has a decent going first setup if forced to. I also really like knowing that Sky Strikers are going to get support in the future. Next, big dogs, we got Mementos. And I'm not coping this time. Memento actually has a legitimate chance to be a real contender in the game. With the deck no longer being floodgated by like Artifact Molnir or something, you can finally play. On top of that, Memento has competed at multiple events and has done fairly well. I think this is our first Yu-Gi-Oh strategy that's in solid choice. Now again, this is me saying this because I got a little bit of a Memento bias, I'm not gonna lie. But I think that Dooms of Dimension really did help Memento. One thing that the deck did lack was a little bit more draw power. Sometimes you'd brick, and we actually got that in Dooms of Dimension. The spell card, Radiant Typhoon Vision, allows you to be able to draw 2 cards, seeing a little bit more into your combo pieces, and get rid of a card like Memento Fusion, which could actually help you out. This ironically adds so much needed consistency for the Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and it's always been a strategy that naturally plays a ton of quick play spells. I want you guys to hear me out. I think that Memento might be a top contender, and if you want to see my version of the Memento deck profile, go ahead and let me know down below in the comment section. Mermail is one of the very few strategies that went completely under the ban list. I want you guys to think about it. The wind statue, banned. The fire statue, banned. The earth statue, banned. But they didn't ban the water statue. Konami, like seriously, there's literally 3 statues on the ban list. Why not just ban the rest? I think this gives Mermail an edge in a lot of situations, but it still makes me wonder why Mermail wasn't doing this before and being really successful. I can't really give it a solid choice, but I think good and stable is probably where it's at. Dracotail is probably the most disappointing Justice Hunter Yu-Gi-Oh deck, which is a good thing. It's almost like your brother became a millionaire and your sister found a pill that got rid of cancer, and all you did was live your life to the best ability, had everything you've ever wanted in your life, but never really did anything super outlandish. It's a really tough task if you ever go to the family reunion, but outside of that, you should be straight. And that's how Dracotail players should feel right now. Your deck is incredibly good, though I wouldn't say it's anything uberly broken about it. I will though say when the new set comes out, there is some support that makes the deck go crazy. That new Albaz support is Secret Dracotail support, so it may be enough to put it in the best decks category. But until then, I think it's a really solid choice. Now, one thing I also know that is a really solid choice is right here, brother, you need them. Raven Wing version 4 is easily the #1 sleeve in the entire economy. And I know in America, economy going trash. But if you ever need protection from getting kicked out of your house, Raven Wing got you. If you ever need protection to prevent your girl from cheating on you, Raven Wing got you. If you need a girlfriend, don't worry, Raven Wing got you. I guess also if you need a boyfriend, Raven Wing also has you. go ahead and go to TheCaliEffect.com and purchase your Raven Wing sleeves today. Will Raven Wing actually prevent all of this from happening? Heck no. I ain't want to be responsible for none of that. But I will tell you, you'll have the #1 sleeves in the entire universe, and they're cheaper than all of the competitors. Next is going to be branded, and I am not going to lie. This deck is crazy. Dimensional Barrier finally getting banned, I think, is way better than the support coming out. Though the support is crazy. The new spell card, the Fallen and the Virtuous, is absolutely an insane card. A lot of people use it for its destruction capabilities, which allows you to escape cards like Effect Veiler and Imperm, but a lot of people also forget about its other ability. You know, the special summon one if you play an Ecclesia card? That is actually a really, really good effect. Branded is at the very worst solid choice, man. It is easily one of the best decks in the format again. Vanquished Soul lost a lot so K9 could perform. I absolutely hate how this deck got murdered, and because of it, it's almost fallen completely off the map. I would put it in the same spot as Crystron because, to be honest, pure K9 is probably just a better deck. I think White Forest actually has a lot of things going for it. Of course, Droll and Logbird is still really strong, but I'm gonna put it in good and stable. It didn't lose anything by all of the cards getting banned. In fact, it actually gained something because it's a pretty good board breaker deck, which is also a reason why I think that Lunalight is a good and stable Yu-Gi-Oh deck. It lost absolutely nothing. Baguska is not on the ban list. I have no idea how it's 2025 and Baguska has not hit the ban list. It's actually insane. I mean, what? It's taken 8 years for Dimensional Barrier to hit the ban list. Who knows? Maybe in 2027, Baguska. But even without it, this deck is also another really strong board breaker Yu-Gi-Oh deck. And Lunalight Liger is a 3,800 attack behemoth that just wins games. Also, I ain't saying it, but TJ called her mommy milkers. I think that Orcust is a really good deck. The only problem with Orcust is that I think it's like one of the worst versions to play Mitsurugi, I'm not gonna lie. And maybe we have to do more testing, but after seeing Orcust Mitsurugi, you're just better off playing Mitsurugi. The big reason to do it was because you don't lose to Dimensional Barrier, but we're not losing to Dimensional Barrier anymore. Now, I will admit, I did not see any other variants of Orcust being played, and we really didn't discuss it too far. So this could be wrong, and I would be happy to address it later on down the line if I am, because I like Orcust. Punk is not in the best of spots. Floodgates definitely would have helped this deck. It's really interesting to see Battles of Legends Monster Mayhem kind of do this, because some strategies start to thrive and then other strategies start to fail in there, and it kind of flip-flops. Punk never really found its competitive stronghold footing, but the other decks did, and I'm actually pretty thankful for that set. It wasn't that bad. K9 is going to be our first deck that I think is one of the best in the game. K9 received a massive boost. Now players that are playing hand traps can get properly punished, and this deck doesn't get flooded out of its combo ability. If we're being so real, I think that the Yu-Gi-Oh meta is going to revolve around K9, it's going to revolve around Mitsurugi, of course, and it's still going to revolve around Yummy. Nothing really changes from these decks being the powerhouses that they are, and another ban list might have to come around to actually hit these decks and slow them down so the other decks can compete. As you guys see here, I got branded here twice, so let's move this out the way. That's how excited I was about branded. Cyber Dragon, unfortunately, again, I think it's probably just a worse version of K9, and K9 Pure is ridiculous. The deck has all of the extra deck space and can still make Cyber Dragon Infinity and other rank 5 monsters if it wanted to. It takes the best level 5 monsters in the game and takes full advantage of them. I think Maliss is still a solid choice Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and I actually think that Fire Kings are another great solid choice Yu-Gi-Oh deck. These two strategies have something to offer, one being Dominus Impulse, which is good against the best decks in the game. Fire Kings also have the additional ability to be able to wipe the board using Dirac Megalo to send Astro to the graveyard to get a free Dirac Meteor. It's like a budget Nibiru, except it helps the deck. And Maliss Whitebinder is still crazy good. I think Ryzeal losing both Ouroboros and Protoss is the biggest loser of this entire ban list. It's gonna go down to Takes a Good Pilot. Not necessarily the worst Yu-Gi-Oh deck in the world, but still, I know I said Radiant Typhoon was a trash Yu-Gi-Oh deck, and I have to tell you guys, I was wrong. About Radiant Typhoon and Genesis, this deck is still not good. Who plays Mystical Space Typhoon in the big 2-5? What are you doing? I want to play Mystical Space Typhoon in the big 25. I do. And lastly is Blue Eyes. A lot of you guys have been saying I've been snubbing Blue Eyes on this list, so I put it here. I actually think that Blue Eyes is a good and stable Yu-Gi-Oh deck. Blue Eyes monsters actually counter the graveyard, so it can counter a decent amount of cards in the format. That Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon is going insane, and this is one of the few decks that can throw enough hand traps at the opponent, but also has that Primite engine to use as a board breaker too. I think Blue Eyes is a really solid Yu-Gi-Oh deck, though I wouldn't say solid choice. I think good and stable is about it. And that's all that I have for the best decks tier list post, you heard it right, the October 2025 ban list. Of course, big dogs, I want you guys to let me know down below in the comment section, what are some Yu-Gi-Oh strategies you think I rank too high or too low? Also, those Yu-Gi-Oh strategies that I missed. Keep in mind, you also can go to TheCaliEffect.com to purchase your Raven Wing sleeves today, so I can catch you on the next one.